Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the June 13th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. We are calling the meeting to order, and it is 7:10 p.m. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. A reading of the meeting notice. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the open meeting session that the Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its annual reorganization meeting held on January 3rd, 2023. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Verona Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the Star Ledger, posted with the Township of Verona, and in the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting set forth the time, location, and agenda were posted at the Verona Board of Education office and on the Verona Public Schools District website. Copies of tonight's agendas and resolutions have been made available to the public via the Board of Education website. Mrs. DiGiuseppe, if you could please call attendance.
Sure, Mr. Cruz's absence. I will do that.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virsella,
Present.
Mrs. Ferrara is absent. Mrs. Prisco,
Here.
Mrs. Freshy.
Here.
Thank you.
Very much. We're going to move on to our presentations by Mrs. Pomerizzi, our athletic director, to give us a spring sports update wrap up. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be doing a recap of the spring sports season tonight, even though spring sports haven't officially ended yet. I will start first with baseball. The Verona Hillbillies baseball team finished with a 12-15 record. The double-digit win season was nice for a young and rebuilding team. The boys finished the season strong, making it to the semifinals of the state tournament. Offensively, the team finished the season with a .290 team batting average and 180 runs scored. Ryan Radigan, a junior, made second team all-conference with the .315 batting average, 6 doubles, 4 triples, and 2 home runs. Ryan also had 20 runs scored and 17 RBIs. Chris Baker and Logan Colon received honorable mention. Our tennis team had an overall record of 10-13. They tied for second in the SEC Colonial Division. Second team All-SEC honors went to Trevor Semeraro, Christian Callback, and Aiden Azarowitz. Honorable mention went to Owen Moy. Our girls lax team had a phenomenal season this year. They were the #1 seed in the Essex County tournament. They were 6-0 in the Freedom North Conference. They were NJIGLL Freedom North champions. They were the #1 seed in the North Group 1 for state tournament, and they made it to sectional finals and lost a heartbreaker 14-13 to Mountain Lakes in a great season-ending game. Bridget Lonsinger, Riley Kenrick, Clara Nips were first team All-American Division. Brooke Reinecker, Juliana Squanti, Jackie Lawless were second team. Jane Sorger was honorable mention. 9 girls on our lacrosse team received all division Freedom North recognition. Our softball team had 20 girls participating in the program this year. They played a modified JV schedule on the days that the varsity was not playing. This season, the team compiled a 19-9 record, making it all the way to the North 2 Group 1 sectional semifinals against Whippany Park, where they lost 6-2 in the 10th inning after 9 innings of scoreless softball. The team had statement wins over Milburn, West Essex, Hudson Catholic, Dumont, Roselle Park, and New Providence. This group of young ladies proved that they would not give up and would not quit, and they embodied the statement of "it isn't over until it's over." Mounting several impressive comeback victories, the JV team was undefeated this year. Emily Esposito made first team all-conference. Ava Perry, Gabby Ignezzo, Olivia Fuentes, and Danny Imbriana all made second team all-conference. and Julia Loudon and Jordan Hannigan made honorable mention all conference. The girls track and field team had another successful season. The girls were the 2023 SEC Colonial Division champions. 3 conference champions were Gwen Neely in the 800, Cara Ann DeMars in high jump, and Marguerite Valera in pole vault. At the Essex County Championship meet, Gwen Neely, a freshman, took second place in the 800 meters, and Marguerite Valera placed 5th in the county in pole vault. At North 2 Group 1 state sectionals, our 4x100 team and 4x400 team were state sectional champions. The 4x100 team consisted of Mally O'Neill, Gwen Neely, Marley Kramer, and Sarah Nodig. Our 4x4 team was Sarah Nodig, Lucia Grant, Faith Brawley, and Gwen Neely. Gwen was also the 800 meter state sectional champion. The team took 2nd overall at state sectionals. 15 girls qualified for Group 1 championships. And at the group championship meet, a new school record was broken by our 4x1 team. Mally O'Neill, Gwen Neely, Marley Kramer, and Sarah Nodig. The Verona golf team finished the season with a record of 10-10. The team finished 3rd in the Liberty Division of the Super Essex Conference with a division record of 9-5. At the county tournament, the team finished 10th overall. 5 of the golfers averaged less than 50 per round for the season, and 4 of them received all conference honors. Nate Zimmer, 2nd team, Jack Flannery, 2nd team, Matt Roth, 2nd team, and Thomas Gawley, honorable mention. 6 underclassmen were regulars in matches and returned next year with varsity experience. Our boys track and field team placed 3rd overall at the SEC Colonial Division Championships. Ian Zalewski placed at county championships in both the 1600 and 800, and Anthony Lewis placed in high jump. The boys had a nice showing at the North 2 Group 1 state sectionals, with Ian Zalewski as a North 2 Group 1 champion in both the 1600 and 800, and the 3200, sorry. The boys placed 4th out of 14 teams at state sectionals. 13 boys qualified for Group 1 championships. Ian Zalewski qualified for Meet of Champions in both the 1600 and 800, and will be competing tomorrow in the Meet of Champions in the 1600. Boys lacrosse. The season was all about building offensive and defensive systems that worked for the team, building a team culture, building a winning mentality, building new traditions like their team trip, and building a foundation for the future. The team took huge strides forward this year as a group when it came to team chemistry and a positive culture. They had strong leadership from the seniors and juniors, a talented sophomore class, and a large freshman class that made huge contributions on both ends of the field. The team had an amazing start with a huge upset over Milburn in overtime. The team won against rival Cedar Grove, where they raised over $3,000 with Cedar Grove to help the fight against pediatric cancer. And that kickstarted a 4-game regular season winning streak. The team earned a very good seed in the state tournament against Madison. Players were recognized for their performances this year with 6 All-Liberty Division selections, including 3 first-teamers and an amazing 10 All-League Kimber Division selections, including 5 first teams. For the Liberty Division, Jack Friedman, Luke Serrell, and Andrew Healy received first team Liberty Division. Michael Krusnis and Harrison Sorger were second team, and Jack Fatatis was honorable mention. Now, some of our students received outstanding accomplishments off of the field this year as well. Andrew Boyle received the Super Football Conference Steve DiGregorio Young Man of the Year Award. He also was the recipient of the Essex Hudson County chapter of the National Football Foundation College Hall of Fame Scholar Athlete Awards Program. Bridget Lonsinger was Verona's recipient of the National Girls and Women's in Sports. Emily Baumgard and Ray Chesney were the recipients of the Essex County Scholar Athlete Award. Amelia Niziolik received the NJSIAA Scholar Athlete Award, and Jackie Lawless received the Super Essex Conference Best Teammate Award. 5 of our student athletes will be continuing their academic and athletic career in college. Alex Rodriguez, football, Wagner College. Chris Baker, baseball, St. Olaf. Sarah Nodig, field hockey and track and field at Kane University. Brooke Reinecker, soccer, Towson University. And Bridget Longsinger Lacrosse, University of Richmond.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that report, and congratulations to all our amazing athletes. I mean, it's so impressive. I mean, we've had a great year and just really impressive, and good luck to Ian tomorrow at the Meet of Champions. That's fantastic. But really, we really do have some talented children here. So thank you for the report. On to next on the agenda is Superintendent's report, Ms. Di Giuseppe.
So I will start with the retirement proclamation for Mr. Bose. So I will have this for you tomorrow. I'm just going to read it. Whereas Raymond Bose did faithfully and conscientiously serve the Verona Public School District as a member of the faculty of the Verona Public Schools, representing Verona, and whereas Ray Bose has served as a faculty member of the Verona Public Schools from September 1, 1987 to June 30th, 2023. And whereas Ray has performed his duties as a faculty member of the Verona Public Schools in the best interest of the students and citizens of the Verona School District. And whereas as a result of his dedication as a faculty member of the Verona Public Schools, Ray has earned the highest respect and deepest appreciation of the Verona School District, its students, staff, community, and administrators. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. The Verona School District publicly acknowledges that Ray Bose did faithfully and conscientiously perform his duties as a member of the faculty of the Verona Public Schools. The Board of Education wishes to commend and thank him for his years of dedicated service to the school district. Its students and staff extend their sincere best wishes in his future endeavors. That this resolution shall become a permanent part of the minutes of the Verona School District Board of Education of Essex County, and the secretary be directed to cause a copy of this resolution to be appropriately reproduced and delivered to Ray Bose. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bose, for all your years here in Verona and for being having such an impact on all of our students, including my two sons that had you in middle school and also on the football team. But thank you very much for your dedication to Verona and our students. It's very much appreciated, and wish you all the best in your retirement.
Very big shoes to fill.
Yeah, if I did the math correctly, that's 36 years. Amazing. Congratulations. And like Mrs. Prisco, you mentored and had all of my sons in middle school as well and left a very positive impression. So yeah. So yeah, a lot of lives touched by you. Thank you so much.
Congrats. And let's hope that your future endeavors include relaxing, traveling, doing some. Good for her.
Thank you, and thank you for being here this evening. Appreciate it. Move on to your superintendent report. Thank you. Of course you can.
It is. It is. So I spoke with Dr. Grip from Statistical Forecasting. He was going to try to split his time on June 22nd between one of the Morris County districts. I can't remember which one. What's that? For the East Hanover. They could not accommodate that. They needed him for a different time period, and we canceled our meeting anyway, so it works out for the best. But he will be here for the July 25th meeting to present on the demographic study. The strategic plan, we are working on the second goal, the college and career readiness goal, this Thursday in administrative council. So we'll be working in small groups to take a look at what college and career readiness looks like in K4 and 5 through 8. I mean, I think everyone assumes college and career readiness is the high school really that's where it lives in it. And to some extent, that's the end of that, but college and career readiness starts much earlier. So we're taking a look at what skills and knowledge we can impart to our kids as early as kindergarten. And that will be happening on Thursday. We had our spring map testing just about finishing up. HBW is doing makeups this week, and once they're done, Dr. Miller will close out that testing and we can see the results and report on that. With regard to staffing, I'll give you a staffing update. We are really rolling here. So the list that I gave you last meeting, we have hired a physical, well, some of them are on the agenda tonight. We hired a physical education teacher for Forest and Lanning because Mr. Phelan is transferring to HBW to take Mr. Bowe's position. The elementary special education teacher that resulted from the increased enrollment, we hired. Fantastic. I mean, the people we're hiring are really impressive. So it's going to be a good year. We had a kindergarten opening at Lanning that is in the end stage interviewing, which means Mr. Friend is about to send a candidate to my level to interview. We have a gifted and talented teacher. We do, which created an opening for us because our gifted and talented teacher is an existing staff member at HBW, but we actually are in the end stage of replacing that position as well. So I have an interview tomorrow with that candidate. The leave replacement in Lanning, we're in end stage interviewing there too. We did replace the leave replacement grade 1 at FN Brown. That's on the agenda this evening. And we are in the last stages of interviewing for special education at Lanning, the kindergarten leave replacement. We are interviewing at the middle school for the special education English teacher, the anticipated math teacher, and we are at the end stage for the special ed grade 5 leave replacement. You'll notice that there is a resignation on the agenda this evening. So that is not in the mix here, but we will begin looking for a social studies teacher for HBW. We hired special education English at the high school. The special education social studies teacher that we spoke about the last time we met, actually we revamped that a little bit. We have a teacher on staff. It's a social studies teacher that is already special ed certified, and Mrs. Peter approached him and asked him if he was interested in moving into the special ed world. He will be do a great job there, and therefore this job turned into a social studies general ed position, and we are in end stage interviewing. And we hired on the agenda tonight an art teacher, which is again that new enrollment position at the high school. So good news, some really exciting news, and I didn't put a lot of sports on here, even though our sports this year have been great because I knew Mrs. Palmarisi was going to be here. One of our students, Jack Latson, ran a toiletry drive for the second or third year in a row. They collected more than 600 items, and they will be donated to Bridges Outreach, the Human Needs Food Pantry, and the food pantry at the Episcopal Church of the Holy Spirit. Vicky Sirigliano, our grade 1 teacher at Brookdale, and her former student intern is what they call them now, Tara Barrow, who is now teaching first grade at FM Brown, were invited to and attended the New Jersey Distinguished Clinical Intern and Cooperating Teacher Award ceremony at Rider University earlier this week because Tara had been nominated for that honor. And they got to meet Angelica Allen McMillan and got their picture taken. If you check out Facebook, you can see the picture there. And just some things that have been happening around the district. All of it, we talked about last time, all of our parties and our celebrations, but at the high school, it's been really kicking up into high gear. We had our senior award ceremony last week, Science and Math Honor Society induction. We had an alumni concert. The Tri-M Thespian Honor Society induction was yesterday. English and History Honor Society induction was today. Later this week, it's National Art Honor Society induction. Friday night is the senior banquet at the Brownstone. And I just wanted to mention that I was at the girls lacrosse games that was a nail biter. I was really 1 point if we had had 5 more minutes. So, but they rocked it hard and were, spilling over with pride at the way that they performed and the way they took the loss. Real professionals. That is my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on, we're going to go on to our student representative report. Ms. Shahado, please.
Okay, yeah, so athletics wise, congratulations to all the teams that are wrapping up this year. It was a great season all around, really. At the high school, students, quick student of the month acknowledgement for March and April. Those students were Julia Dacey, Jane Sorger, Beatrice Gomez Pizzuto, Emerson Garrett, Eleanor Battersby, Brian Cleaver, Mike Cruznes, and Alex Vasquez. And yeah, so Ms. D. Giuseppe covered a lot of the stuff that's been happening. So inductions for the computer science, math science honor societies, as well as Triumph in the International Thespian honor societies and English history, etc., have already occurred. National Art Honor Society inductions will be June 14th. In addition to all the end of year stuff that's going on right now. So senior awards were held on June 7th. The senior banquet's coming up, and graduation will be June 22nd at the VHS Upper Field or at Caldwell University in case of rain. But that's it for me today.
Really impressive to see the number of students in our honor societies. I mean, they were big gatherings and just really impressive all across.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Reese. Anyone have any questions or comments for Reese? As always, Reese, thank you. Will you be back here in September with us or in July? How does that work?
She doesn't have to come in July, but it's a junior position, so she's going to have to give it up for next year.
Oh,
I think, let me check our policy. Generally, it was a junior, but I can look.
Yeah, I'll need to go back and double check the district policy, but at the state level, it wasn't a grade specified position.
It wasn't. Okay, let me look. Okay. It doesn't? Okay.
do you have to have, if it is any grade, do you have to have another nomination or you continue? If you just say you want to continue, you can continue, or how does that work?
So since it's a student council position, I'll have to run again and do that whole rigmarole in October.
Wow. Thank you. Okay, moving on to, we have our committee reports and
No,
beginning.
it's not. It's 9 through 12.
Oh,
It's up. If you want to run for it again, go for it.
yes.
To see you guys back here in October, because I will definitely be here over the summer, even in public.
Thank you, Reese. So we're going to move on to our committee reports. First up is athletics. Would you like me to take that, Mr. Waka? Thanks. So Mrs. Pomerese gave her wonderful update on all our spring sports, so I do not need to do that. We also have, like was mentioned, we have our Sports Boosters Awards on June 20th. There was recognition to the Thomas Wachenfeld Sportsmanship Award 2022-2023 school year for our head basketball coach for the boys, Coach McElroy. He received that for his sportsmanship on the court. So congratulations to him. I've watched him coach for many years and he shows very great sportsmanship on that court. So congratulations to him on receiving that award. We have the National Federation High School safety training for some of our coaches that will be taking place. We also have one student that is going to participate on the Montclair gymnastics team. I believe it's on for a resolution tonight to approve her. And we don't have a gymnastics team here, so Montclair has accepted her there. Transportation has been ongoing discussions and just it's a lot of money. right?
Yes. Yeah, busing has increased in cost tremendously over the past 5 years.
We also would like to make a statement basically about field trespassing. I believe we're going to try to get some more signage around some of our fields. Basically also like on our high school softball field, baseball field. It's been locked and there's been some trespassing, we're jumping the fence and some damages that has been done. So if the fields are locked, we're please asking if people could stay off of them.
Yeah, I think to jump in, I think what we wanted to do also was, raise awareness, just tell the community, here's, the tennis courts open to the public on weekends and nights. But here's why the baseball field is not, or here's why, because, I think that we believe that there might not be that information out there. And just to preserve the shelf life of a lot of the equipment we have for the athletes, we want to just kind of be a little more mindful of that.
Thank you. And other than that, just on some coaching vacancies, we're still looking for a boys lacrosse, not lacrosse, cross-country coach and JV basketball they're interviewing for. And I believe that is it. If anyone else, did I miss anything, Mr. Waka? Any questions? Thank you. Next on our committee reports is facilities. Do facilities meet? Yes, we do.
I'm going to start by telling the best news, which is the chariot cleaner has arrived.
He's just chomping at the
And-
bit because they're going to do training.
And then Henry told us that in this training session, the guy that knows more about cleaning than anyone else in the state the cleaning nerd or guru or whatever guy was, is gonna come. And I got invited to learn from this guy, so I'm gonna try and make it.
Yeah, we're envisioning like a Ben-Hur chariots going down the hallways, waxing the floors. But so that was definitely part of the conversation. On our addendum, item number 3, we were rolling the facilities coordinator position. We were collapsing existing stipends into one salary. And that is going to be voted upon tonight. And it was a unanimous decision amongst the candidates during the interview process. So that is number 3. And if we do vote yes, that would be Mr. Dennis James. And then we are in progress of getting the custodial floaters for the nighttime positions. And what that's going to do is anchor specific custodians to specific buildings to have a more seamless oversight of any custodial duties in our buildings. We're in the progress of having the Lanning School and Forest Avenue rugs removed. The Brookdale Avenue gym had some tiles that have popped up. So they have been replacing them as they go along, and they're going to see if there is some leftover funds from other grant money to put together to redo that floor. And part of the, they're waiting for the final proposal on that. And part of the issue with that is there's like a little logo embedded in the floor and the tiles. So to get it all to match up again. But Henry is on that. We also have in progress the district-wide time clocks. They're going to begin installing and programming them during the summer. And the grab and go information for all the buildings for emergency procedures and exits and mapping is also in progress. As Mr. Waka pointed out, their training is going to begin for the new floor cleaning machine. So that's like very exciting. The nurse's office is also getting revamped
The high school.
at the high school. So that is also in progress. And things that have been completed already were the HEPA air cleaner filters. We did get our delivery with 2 years worth of filters and for every room in the school district. And what they were looking for now is how to dispose of the old HEPA filter unit. So what they were looking at is either the possibility of donating them to another school. So Henry is, and Mr. Cruz are looking into different options on how to dispose of those
I have to say too, the HEPA filters came in just in time, right before,
right before the smog.
right before the smog, right?
Yeah,
The
that was so
apocalypse.
crazy. And then let's see, the new IPM vendor. So they are going to provide training to the whole district staff and looking to get better service and quality with that. And then there is a summer project list that they are going to do a punch list over the summer. Did I miss anything? Mr. Walker?
The only thing that I don't even know whether was mentioned there, but should have been, is we're also actively working on the life skills classroom here at the high school.
Yeah, you call that.
Yeah. The,
I was sitting in my car though,
I don't
taking
think-
notes. I might have missed it.
Yeah, I might have missed it too, but that's good. And then you may have mentioned this, but they're working on their egress routes
Yeah.
to get those
Yes.
posted.
Mhm.
But it was a good meeting.
And that was it. It was relatively quick, actually.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on to governance and policy.
we didn't meet.
We did not meet.
Oh, you did not
No.
meet. Okay. Cross that off. Thank you. So moving on.
Are we
I
gonna try and meet before our next?
Oh,
meeting? 'Cause
absolutely.
We have a lot of
Yes.
stuff. going on.
Yeah.
Next up is public comment on agenda action items only. So if anyone has anything to ask about anything that is on the agenda for approval tonight, you have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium and state your name. Seeing none, we will move on. For discussion items, I know, I just wanted to, before I turned it over to Mrs. Freshy and Mrs. Rosella for the safety, and I think Mr. Walker wanted to talk about something about a retreat. I just wanted to also just say thank you, since it's our last meeting of the summer. I wanted to thank Mrs. Giuseppe for her first year here.
Thank you.
And it's been wonderful having you sit up here and working with us and taking the lead and making all the changes and just being a great positive leader for Verona. So thank you for being here and your first year being so wonderful.
Thank you.
And also just want to thank all our administrators, teachers, staff, maintenance, for paraprofessionals, administrative assistants, everyone for a good, to thank them as well for a great year, and wishing everyone a wonderful and healthy and happy summer. Hopefully it's relaxing, and I can turn it over to, if you would like to speak about the safety conference that you attended last week. Thank
Sure.
you for
You wanna
attending that as
start
well.
I'll start. You can jump in as
Yep.
needed. So Ms. Freshy and I attended a conference down at Mercer County College, Community College, on safety and security. There was some cybersecurity stuff, although we focused more on the physical security parts, because that's, I think, was a little bit more prevalent to us. Overall, I will say, just as a broad statement, Verona, from what I can see, has good bones. We have a lot of policies, we have a lot of equipment, and we have, done some facility upgrades over the past few years that have really brought us up a level. And I think that we can continue to grow using what we have. And, we can talk as we get through. The first thing that was discussed actually was not directly involving physical security, but just security in general. There's a new memo of agreement coming out with the police department. For those who don't know, and out in cyberland, the memo of agreement, New Jersey requires that school districts and local police department have an agreement as to what is reported back and forth to them and how they interact with each other. So the last one, I don't think I wrote it down, it's several years old. It hasn't really been updated, but they're updating it now. It's in the final process. We probably will have something over the summer that we will vote on as a board. So there wasn't really too much to be said because it wasn't approved yet, but it is coming. But the main focus is so far on removing or trying to eliminate the school to prison pipeline and how that is for those, how that can be a big problem in areas of the country and with certain demographic groups in schools. And then there's a youth bias task force or anti-bias vision that they're also focusing on. So it's more of a lens of holistic approaches and not just punitive type of stuff. They discuss the different types of officers that are involved in schools, the SRO, the class 3, class 2, and class 1 officers, and how those can interact. So, okay. And then, sorry, I have all these notes written down here and they made sense when I wrote them. And then we also went to a safety and security group, the first breakout session we went to. This was about law enforcement unit as part of a school district. This was a gentleman from Minneapolis, who was the head of their school security during the whole riots that were going on there, or demonstrations that were going on there. It was interesting because they actually took away their SROs and now they're gradually bringing them back in a different role. It was kind of an interesting demographic. But his big takeaway was that whenever we are going to introduce any sort of security into the school, whether it's an armed security officer or down to, a retired person who's manning a front desk, the students should be part of the conversation and their voices should be heard, because they are the ones who have a perspective that the adults just don't have. They can tell you, is that going to make me feel safer, or is it going to make me feel like I'm in a prison? What the example he said was, when he was at his school, in a lot of the high schools, the officers would stand on the catwalks above the cafeteria during lunch because that was the best view. They could see what was going on. The kids told them, well, we feel like we're in a prison and the guards are looking down on us. So that was a change that could be made based on student response. So it's not just lockdown, discipline. It's listening and having a conversation and getting to know whoever is in your building. There was also another presentation, this one was involving an advanced 911 system, which
It was very salesy.
very salesy,
was
yes. It
very,
was
very
very salesy, pitchy. To be honest, I think it seemed to duplicate a lot of what we have through cell phones. Like they were talking about putting panic buttons on every phone in the school, but so you're gonna have to put a code in to do that.
Yeah, mapping. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah, and this was involving mapping and updating in real time by the teacher. It just seemed very expensive. First off, expensive, even though he didn't talk price, but I think it was just well above what we would have needed. And then there was a final discussion on behavioral threats and assessments. This was very interesting, and I think, Lisa, I saw that you shared some of the stuff we had
Yeah.
gotten. This was really interesting because it talked about how we treat students who are having mental health issues or are making threats, and how we go through the checklist of if a student needs to be sent for an actual assessment by a psychiatrist or psychologist versus is this something that someone is just saying, because you don't want to overreact both ways. So it was very interesting. They use Sigma is who they were saying is who the Department of Education contracts with, which is similar to this Dewey Cornell, which is the guy, I guess, the guy for these type of behavioral assessments. So, but it was very interesting to listen, to hear, and I think both came away with is that we're in a good place.
Yeah, I think our takeaway was we are in a good place. That slide deck, when you did the state of the schools, and there's that safety slide deck, we as a district have dedicated a lot of funds through referendums and over the years, putting a lot of systems in place. And a lot of my personal takeaway from this seminar was really thinking about restorative justice, thinking about the relationships that the district has with the police department, which we have a very good reciprocal relationship with them. They talked a lot about behavior, just bad behavior or criminal behavior, and really looking at how are you defining that, and through security measures, what are you looking to secure? Are you looking to keep students safe? Are you looking to keep adults safe? Is it peer-to-peer violence that's a problem? Is it, problematic between adults or administrators and children? Like, really look at your district and go thoughtfully and mindfully into what your next steps are. And I think a lot of their big emphasis was that any type of targeted violence is a decision, and it's thought out, and there's a pathway, and there's flags along the way where that threat assessment is really important, and that it's everybody in the district's responsibility to be looking out for safety. And if you see something that's wrong, say something. And I think that goes back to like when we got our Grand River solutions, some of the student comments were, what exactly does that mean? If you see something, say something. So I think as a district, we really need to think about that and help people identify what's problematic and what should be, reported on. But overall, I feel like we're in a good place. I feel like we've talked a lot about updating our policies and giving some of our policies a little more teeth and regulations. Propping open of doors shouldn't be happening. When you're walking in a building and somebody's behind you and they're like, wait, hold the door, you really shouldn't be. That person should be buzzing themselves in. So, and going through the same process as everybody. So I think like some tweaking, we talked about our open campus lunch at the high school. Like, how are we going to account for what students are in the school and out of the school? If there is an emergency during that time, we don't really have a head count because we don't know. So I think looking at a lot of those things are really, really important. They're going to be critical going
Yeah.
forward.
Well, and the behavioral threat assessment training, I did it with Mrs. Palmarisi, and some of the principals did it as well. It was a really long training. It was a 6.5-hour training, but very, very good. And you probably know this stuff, but you don't think about it until someone points it out to you, that there has not been a violent act in a school, whether it's the ultimate violence, which is a shooting, or arson, or just other smaller violent acts. Everyone that's been perpetrated in this country, there have been signs after the fact that people said, they did this, I saw that. And had they come forward, how many of those could have been avoided? Or, so the idea of having behavioral threat assessment teams at each building working collaboratively to run down the silliest thing just to make sure that it's not a precursor to something larger. And no one in the school district wants another committee to sit on, but this is an important one.
Yeah, and I shared for the other board members, I shared with Ms. Giuseppe, Edison School District had a really concise behavioral threat assessment checklist, like almost like a flow chart. You ask this question, yes, no, and then you would go appropriately down that. So I don't know if we had something like that or that would be a template, but I did share
Couple of
it.
templates from the training. We're working this summer to put them in place for September.
Great. Yes, overall, it was very
I
good.
think it was worth our time.
Thank you. I appreciate you both attending and taking the time. and reporting out. So thank you very much. Mr. Walker.
Yeah, so a couple Saturdays ago, I went on my first ever board retreat, and it turned out to be just one of the more pleasant experiences I've ever had. Working with a board and board members. We had the option at Halden. We could have looked to try and go to like a conference hall somewhere, but we decided to do it on campus. We also had the option of looking to see if our county NJSBA rep could do it. But my board president and myself, we have a very positive relationship with the former head of all the county school boards. She was the one that actually ran my search when I got hired, and now she's an independent consultant. And she's just brilliant. So we decided to pay $1,200 because it was much easier to schedule her than the county rep because they're kind of stretched thin. And we knew we'd get such a high level of service from this individual. So the whole thing only cost us $1,200 plus the potluck, meal, whatever we put into that afterwards. But it was a really good 6-hour discussion on just boardsmanship. And the facilitator met with our board president, and they talked about what some of the goals that they'd like to accomplish in the workshop together. And then it was just, to me, it was just a really good and needed and beneficial thing. We had our BA there, we had our special ed director, and it was just a really great experience. So I would advocate that, hopefully this September or October, as the board president, you'd consider doing something. I think it'd be fine to do it here. We don't have to go anywhere crazy, but just spending a morning together, talking about topics and getting the trainings that we want to get, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, I totally think it's a great idea. In the past, the board has always done retreats. It's really just been since pandemic that we have not done it. So I would love to see the
Yeah.
board get back to that. And some of the things we did are similar. We did it on campus. We did board trainings together. One board retreat, we hired somebody from Myers-Briggs and we all did the personality assessment to see how all the board members, like how you rate and how your personalities can complement and move things forward and come to different consensus on, hot topics. So I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. If you could share
Yeah, I'll get you the contact info.
the
and
information
you
that
guys
you,
can work it out.
and then we, okay, perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you. Fantastic. Anybody else for any other discussion items?
Oh,
Sorry, Reese.
every time. Okay, I just need to move it back a little. There we go. So Ms. Seppi, I know you mentioned that going forward as it pertains to school safety, you guys were in talks with the Verona Police Department, as far as you can share in public session. Okay.
We'll be going to the Milburn campus to see their school security setup
Mhm.
and talk to their school security director. That was on the advice of Chief Kiernan. The Verona Police like what the Milburn School District is doing. I will venture a guess to say we don't have the same amount of funds as the Milburn School District. It was exploratory. The reality of it is the money to do it will be difficult to come up with, but we have a year to talk about all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Where are we with that mapping that's getting done? Because that was a big part of this and it was fascinating.
We are on their schedule.
Oh,
So
great.
by the end of the summer, we should have all of our buildings mapped.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're going to move on to our approval of resolutions. So I need a motion, please, to approve the minutes from, oh no, first we're going to go on to board renewal resolutions. So we're going first with board renewal resolutions and 1 through 19. So I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Waka, second by Mrs. Freshy. Any discussion? Mr. Giuseppe, can you please call roll?
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Barzella?
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco?
Yes.
And Mrs. Freshy.
Yes. Great, thank you. Moving on to resolution number 1. approving the minutes from May 23rd meeting, 2023. I need a motion to approve resolution number 1. Motion by Mrs. Freshy,
I'll
seconded
second.
by Mrs. Virzella. Any discussion? Mrs. Di Giuseppe?
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco
Yes.
and Mrs. Resky.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed. On to personnel. We need a resolution to approve 1 through 20. For personnel resolutions 1 through 20, I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Waka, seconded
Second.
by Mrs. Virzella. Any discussion? None? Mrs. Di Giuseppe, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco
Yes.
and Mrs. Resky.
Yes. You
Okay.
know, I do have a quick question.
Sure.
What is Janet's law?
Janet's law is the AED maintenance law that there has to be an AED within so many feet of an
Got it.
athletic field or gymnasium.
That motion passed. Resolution passed. Now I
Yes.
need a motion to approve education resolutions 1 through 23.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Waka, seconded by, I'll second that.
Second. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that on?
Any discussion? Mrs. Di Giuseppe, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Resky.
Yes.
We have quorum. I forgot to say that. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on.
Jorge's home shake.
I know.
What is
He's
she
watching saying, what is she doing? I left her in charge.
I need a motion to approve athletics and co-curriculars resolutions 1 through 5.
So
Moved.
Oh.
Uh,
Moved by Mrs. Virzella, seconded
That's
by
close.
Mrs. Freshy. Any discussion on athletics or co-curricular? Please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Resky.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
We have
Moving
a
on
quorum.
to our finance resolutions, I need a motion to approve resolutions 1 through 12.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Waka,
second.
seconded by Mrs. Virzella. Any discussion? Can you please call roll?
No, nothing?
That's the one with the caps, right? So I just wanted to, right? Number 4 with the sick leave compensation.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that we cap at 15,000 except for employees that were hired before
Before September 1st, 2010.
2010. Okay.
Great, thank you.
So. Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Presky.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve resolution number 1 under facilities.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Waka, seconded by Mrs. Freshy. Any discussion? No. Call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco
Yes,
and Mrs. Presky.
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. I need a motion to approve governance and policy resolution number 1.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Freshy, seconded by
Me.
Mr. Waka. Any discussion? Mrs. Di Giuseppe, please call roll.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar is absent. Mrs. Prisco
Yes,
and Mrs. Presky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
great. And just moving on to, we have an addendum resolutions. So I need a motion, please, to approve the personnel resolutions 1 through 4 on the addenda.
Moved.
Motion by Mr. Waka, seconded by
I'll second.
Mrs. Rosella, any discussion?
You know what? I actually want to just,
Sure.
on 1.1 new hire, I want to explain the file, what the role of this file clerk is. File clerk is probably not a great title, but at the high school and in the board office, we are bursting at the seams, overrun with files that have to be 50, 60 years old. Most of them, or many of them, are special education student files, and we don't have to keep them in perpetuity. There are some files, education files, that we do have to keep for 100 years. These aren't, some of them, what has to happen is we have to look at the last address we had for that family or for that student, send a registered letter giving them amount of time if you want these sent to you, or you want to pick them up. If you don't respond, or if you don't want them, they get shredded. So currently we have 2 moderately large classrooms that are overrun with files, and we have to start going through them. So this person is actually knowledgeable with regard to special education files, and she's been doing this for a while at West Essex and some of the surroundings. So that's what that is about. And she'll start with, once we get through all the special education files, she'll start with all of the personnel files that are also being stored from 50
Wow.
years ago.
When it gets to the point where you have the stuff to be shredded, it sounds like there might be a lot. Do we hire a company, or how do we?
We would probably
rid of it?
hire a truck to come out and shred, because our little shredder is never going to stand
Yeah,
up
no,
to
no,
it.
no.
Yeah.
I wonder if that
Yeah.
could be something that could turn into like a fundraiser.
Fundraiser,
like
yeah.
By donation, and you do bulk shredding.
There's a lot of areas, municipalities that do the shredding for fundraisers.
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And Verona has a couple of them, so maybe we would piggyback on.
Just need to call roll on that.
Oh, that's right. That's me again.
Yeah. just call roll, right?
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Virzella,
Yes,
Mrs. Farrar is absent, Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
and Mrs. Bresky.
Yes.
Thank
Motion
you.
carried.
We just have one more. Under education, we need a motion to approve addenda education resolution 1 through 2.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Waka, seconded by, I can second that. Oh, you know what? I do have a question on the revised school schedule calendar for 2023, 24. What
What was the change?
Yeah, what's the change?
I didn't notice it was.
Getting
Oh,
out
it's,
earlier?
no, if you, yeah, let me open it so I can show you. Sorry, let me just get to my drive. That's on the addendum, right?
Mhm. Yes.
First of all, there were some changes to, just as from my memory, when the curriculum department made this calendar early on, the end of day professional development, half day for student, 1:30 to 3:30 professional development for teachers were placed on Friday afternoons. It's a disaster. Like, no one wants to stay for professional development on Friday afternoon. So we moved those. And also there was one before the President's Day break. So that was a change. We moved some things around to get a full day professional development, because we only have one full day of professional development, which gives us 1 day a year to work with the entire district as a vertical group. And then I added what Mrs. Farrar asked for, which is where the potential give back days would be if we don't use all of our inclement weather. So the only trickiness that happened is we went from 4 inclement weather days to 3 inclement weather days to keep graduation on the same day. So those are the changes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I do we have a motion for that? Motion for
Sure.
education resolutions 1 through 2, Mr. Waka,
Okay.
seconded by, I could second that. That was me, right? Yeah. Any discussion?
can I just ask a question about the calendar? Because I have a feeling it's been discussed, I think, in public after the smog day. Is there a reason that we can't just hold back a day till the end of the year and then give kids the 18th off, and have them come back for graduation. Is there like a,
Is there a legal reason?
No, you don't get a lot of kids coming back. Obviously, we could do that. Obviously, we can't change the date of graduation,
right?
because
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's graduation. You can't change.
I would just have to like understand what's happening with closeout during that time. So you wouldn't want to pull those kids if teachers, well, they would know ahead of time that they have to like collect everything from students, calculators, books, everything that
Right.
those are
Right.
collection days. It's
Right.
really, half day in June, the end of the year. It's not a lot of instruction happening, I'm sure, but there's a lot of end of year closeout parties, I'm sure, here in Verona.
No, because I'm just thinking that, like, if something were to happen again, maybe we get another smoke incident, that having a day in our back pocket that we can say, I mean, even just, God forbid, there's a fire and we have to shut down the buildings for a day or something, have a day in our back pocket that we can say, this is the day we're going to take at the very end. I know it's a hard.
Oh, you mean add back in?
No. I'm saying, like, say we don't use any snow days next year and we want to give them people June 4th off because that's an election day. We'll give
Right.
another day around
Memorial
Memorial
Day.
Day. If we hold one until like the last week of school where.
Yeah,
I
if there's
mean,
no
there's
unforeseen emergency.
Right,
you
then
have
we
to
give it
use
to them, like,
then
kids
becomes
can-
That day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you could do that.
I don't know if there's a logistical reason.
I have to, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not,
good.
the last 3
Elementary
days of school and my 2 prior districts were very busy days getting everything together. I
Right.
don't know, I haven't
But
seen
we're
them here
still,
yet.
I think we have it built in, like we have, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but it doesn't say here we have 183 days for students.
That's-
Yeah, but it's really 180 days because 3 of them are flex days. You either have snow, you're
I
either
see what
closed
you're
for
saying.
snow or
I
you
got you.
get them back. Yeah.
Right. I mean, just,
Are you obligated to give them back?
Under the teacher's contract, we are. Because they have a number of set days. So,
And then just like thinking about, you just mentioned there's only one full day that professional development can happen. So looking at a calendar, the teachers convention, that's really technically professional development days, and our teachers go down to Atlantic City. Could those be full day professional development days? And if somebody wants to attend, because it's in their contract and it's the law, you could get release time to go to Atlantic City, but if you're not going to Atlantic City, so those are your options: in-house, all-day professional development, or the teachers convention, National Teachers Convention.
that will undoubtedly come up in negotiations next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it just seems more and more, we need time, and
Yeah.
there's just not time.
Yeah, and other school districts have started their year in August.
Mhm.
Even students, many, Mendham, Chatham,
Yeah, a
West
lot.
Morris, they all begin the students come back the last week of August so that they can fit more days into the year to work with professional development or they also give a winter break, which we don't provide.
that also helps with AP classes, because if we have our kids who are taking the same curriculum
Mhm.
as kids who are down, say, down south where they start,
Or out west.
Yeah,
or out
you-
west
you
where they
get
start in the
an
middle of
extra month of
August,
school. Yeah.
they get an extra few weeks of school
Before
that
the
we just
testing.
don't have in the Northeast.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to interview a teacher that works currently for North Star Academy Charter School in Newark. They begin their staff work year on August 10th, and from the 10th to the 31st are in every day for professional development. The
Wow.
kids come back after Labor Day. And they also have an hour and 15 minutes at the end of every day to work in PLC groups and to really focus on student instruction. Now, obviously, public school calendar and salaries don't account for that.
Yeah.
But I think we can progress toward it. We were able to fit On October 9th, we were able to fit a full day in for professional development for staff. And that's Columbus Day, so it'll be closed for students on Columbus Day, which I think will make some parents happy as well, because they've asked for that in the past.
Thank you.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazella?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrari is absent. Mrs. Prisco?
Yes.
And Mrs. Fresco.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, we are done with our resolutions. Now we are moving on to our public comment. If there's anyone from the public that would like to come to the podium for any comments on any items, please just state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Well, thank you for coming and
Yeah.
waiting.
No, don't start my timer yet, but I
No,
was
no.
happy to
Don't worry.
be here for Mr. Bose because he's just fantastic. So that was lovely to be here for him. You can start my timer now. My name is Janelle Gutierrez. This is my family. I have one more son at home who's not feeling well. I live on 8 Morningside Road. Give me a minute because I'm a little bit nervy. I'm here today because I'm concerned about the climate and culture at HBW. HBW has issued 584 detentions between September and April of this year. I'm worried about that number and equally concerned that detentions have been widely researched to increase noncompliance, defiance, and ultimately affect student academic performance. Would the district consider a plan that encourages students to reflect on their conduct and look to repair, a restorative practice, a school-wide system of positive behavioral supports? Can you include professional development for school staff on leading conversations with students that teach lessons and hold them accountable? The administrators from HBW explained that when there is a problem, they do not bring children together because there is a policy that requires parental permission before you speak to students. That compels me to ask you to include parent meetings that explain the code of conduct and the strategies that the school implements when there is conflict among students. Families must understand the expectation so that when we sit at the table, we can partner in managing student behaviors. HBW conducted 11 HIB investigations. I believe that number to be higher. HIB investigations typically go grossly underreported. Of those 11 investigations, only 2 were found to be substantiated. The purpose of the law is to strengthen the standards with the intention of developing and sustaining safe, supportive, and civil schools in which HIB does not occur. Can the district HIB coordinator hold parent meetings to explain what an HIB investigation is, what it isn't, when it's necessary, and then detail the steps that the district is taking so that there is not such a large number of investigations that are unfounded? Unfounded HIB investigations are considered data to support that the climate is hostile and that the school-wide system is not addressing the incidents that are occurring in a pro-social way. There were 18 total suspensions. Students identified as disabled were suspended 10 times this year. The reasons ranged from threats, vandalism, disrespect, physical assaults, insubordination, and fighting. The data is unclear as to what warrants in and out of school suspensions. Can the district look at the code of conduct and discipline policy with a steering committee to look at discrepancies that exist in the model? Lastly, faculty attendance at HBW is the poorest in the district, 88% in April. Poor teacher attendance speaks to the climate of the school. What is the district doing to address poor faculty attendance at HBW? This is not the full picture. The data paints a picture of climate and culture in the middle school that is hostile. It's important that we continue to collect this data and apart from that, use it to analyze where the district is struggling and where it can make improvements. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up.
Question. Is it okay?
Yeah.
It seems like you have a lot of data, and I'm not at all disputing the veracity of it.
Yeah,
Where did you pull this data from?
from your attendance reports that you guys publish.
I don't publish anything, but you got it from the state?
No, for the district publishes monthly
Oh, in the
attendance
parent
reports.
square?
Right.
Very
No,
good.
no, it's in our.
It's
board
in the public
packet.
packet.
Yeah, in the public packet, it talks about attendance and I've talked about it a couple times prior to being.
Yeah.
on the
But it seems
board.
like you got a whole lot of that. All that data is from that? You're pulling
Yeah.
from?
I
Awesome. Love
compiled
it.
all the data over days. I know that I was 16 seconds.
That's a lot of work.
over.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really important. It's really, I know that the clock is not on anymore, but we have to do something better. And if we're a community where no one fights alone, then we're not fighting alone, right? We have to do better for our middle school. It's not really meeting the expectations that we have at the elementary level, and they're definitely not prepared for high school. I know that there was a pandemic. I know that the kids are coming in at a disadvantage, but we have to do better. I'm just asking for you guys to look at your data. That's data that you compiled. I didn't. And that you say, hey, this is something that we need to look at.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to point out too, I don't know whether you noticed on the agenda tonight, we are sending both Mr. Lancaster and Mr. Galbachek to 3-day professional development on responsive classroom for restorative
I
practices.
did see that.
You did.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to piggyback on some of your comments as well. One, thank you for coming up and speaking to it. It's definitely something that everybody is aware of. And in regard to the HIV, it's so confusing. It's really confusing. I've been on the board 9 years, and there's always nobody's happy with it. And I think a lot of it comes because there's student conflict, and then there's the way the law is written. And just because something is unfounded under the prongs of the law doesn't discount it as a student conflict or behavioral issue. So there's always some kind of outcome, but if it doesn't meet the 4 prongs of the law, like whatever protected class and how the law is written, it does get marked as unfounded, but it's not disregarded, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It
And
does. It does. I think that,
It's frustrating.
well, I think that one of the things, there's a lot of value. I'm also an educator. I'm a social worker.
Oh,
and I
okay,
work
so
as a
you
therapeutic
understand
social
it.
worker in a school. I'm on the behavioral threat assessment team.
Great.
So all of this is my wheelhouse. I think that what I'm trying to say is that HBW has been weaponizing the
Disproportionate.
HIV process and
Yeah.
skipping an entire process that includes talking to students, being able
Understood.
to resolve conflict, being able to teach lessons, being able to be accountable. As parents, we're leaving our children in the building with an expectation that the adults there are going to take their hand while we're at work, while we're
Yep.
doing whatever it is that we're doing. And when they drop that ball, it's disheartening because our families are suffering. So
Yep.
when our kids come home and they're like, this is what happened in school, and then it starts this process that's very legal and
Yeah.
and it obstructs the flow of your family. So all I'm asking is, you have some real numbers here. I'd love for you guys to look at them and to say, can we do something different?
Very valid. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate you coming here. Anyone else like to speak to the podium? So our next scheduled public meeting will be held on July 25th, 2023, beginning with confidential at 6 p.m. and a public session at 7 p.m. in the Verona High School Learning Commons. It's 8:24 and I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Motion by Mrs. Freshy, seconded by Mrs. Frizella. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you all for coming and have a great summer.